Skirt, skirt. Told you we always been ready. I don't need people that's petty, that weigh on me heavy while I'm being steady. I need a record with Felly. We get it bouncing like Betty's. I feel like I'm Nelly. Don't bring the beef like a deli. It's leave on that levy. No sleeping on me like I'm Freddy. Chris Breeze, how I do. Hit him with the moves. Left hand step back, ballin' like I'm Coos. All faith, God's plan. You just gotta choose. Got slaps, nothing left to prove. Y'all gotta leave me alone. Lately I've been in my zone. Told them no cap like I fitted, but lately the flows have been straight off the dome. I feel like I'm MVP, like my name Patty Mahomes. If it ain't about money, don't hit up my phone, cause lately I've been in my zone.
Hello, welcome to the Cowboy Show, hosted by Ben Carey and Nick Gronerad, combining expert human opinions with cutting-edge simulation models to help you arrive at the best picks each week. Inside Edge Community. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's stream. It is Tuesday, which means we've got a full slate of baseball. Hope everyone had a wonderful July 4th yesterday. Would have been a good day to stream. I mean, a July 4th feels like a very baseball holiday. Would you feel the same, Kyle?
Yeah, I do. Baseball through the day, it's nice. I kind of miss the days where you have day baseball going on. You have to wait till 6 o'clock or something. It's nice to have some day baseball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I think that that's one of the benefits actually of living further west in the country is the day baseball comes a little bit earlier, and even the night baseball. It's like it's 5 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock, which I actually really enjoy. I'm biased because I live here now, but I do think that the Mountain Time Zone, top sports time zone that there is, that's always an interesting debate to happen. People get very passionate about that time zone.
You know, I always get messed up when I travel around, especially when I go to the West Coast, because I'm an East time zone guy and I'm a night owl. So I guess it works okay for me because I stay up late anyways. But I know it kind of messes with me when I'm on the West Coast and the games are starting at 9 a.m., say college football Saturdays. I don't know about that 9 a.m. start time. That might not be the best.
Yeah. I think that's the one thing. And I'm not the biggest college football guy. So the 9 a.m., 10 a.m. starts aren't a huge deal for me. But I love 11 o'clock NFL. I think that's the best.
Yeah.
That's the best.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah. So Kyle, welcome to the stream. So you've been on some stuff that we've done before. I think you and Ben have done some college football stuff, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that we had you on for something NFL related, maybe like a long time ago, like probably a year and a half ago. But it's been a while. First time on the MLB streams. So tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been in the industry since 2009. It seems like just a few years ago that I was the young gun. I was jumping onto the scene, doing really well, and everybody's like, here's this young guy doing a great job starting it off. I was at least somewhat fortunate that in the first year or two that I started professionally handicapping, I had some tremendous seasons. College basketball is a really big specialty of mine, especially totals. College football, the same. I know Ben and I have talked a lot about both of those sports, even, off streams about our thoughts on games and stuff. But baseball's been my best professional sport, to be honest. So happy to be on here talking baseball. I'm just one of those guys that just works hard and tries to let the record talk for itself. I'm not one of those guys that's a used car salesman. It's my least favorite thing about this business is there's just so many of these guys that are screaming how amazing they are. I just hate that. I just want to work hard and put my head down and handicap these games. So I know you and Ben aren't like that anyways either. So I feel at ease here that I can just break down the games and we can get some different perspectives of how these games might look.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So, I mean, obviously it's important to find a little bit of a balance. I mean, you have to have a good record, right? That's ultimately the most important thing. If you're consistently making money or you're consistently not making money, that just entirely speaks for itself. My favorite thing actually is there's a couple people I think who are actually literally used car salesmen who boast in that used car salesman style on Twitter. That's my favorite. That's extra ironic. But yeah, very, very happy to have you on the stream. Very excited to see what you think about these games. I know I picked out the games last night. I was looking at them this morning and I was like, gosh, these are some tough games. Lot of the marquee teams, lot of bigger favorites today, and a lot of the time that can make them tough. So it's a tough slate for you, but excited to hear what you have to say and excited to kind of pick your brain a little bit as we move through this. Again, like you were saying, you've been doing this since 2009. You said so, more than a decade, like 13 years. Got a lot of experience, and I think that myself and everybody else can learn a lot today, not just about the games that we're talking about, but just about some more general handicapping stuff. So very excited for that. So hope everyone in the chat doing well, ready for some discussion, and how the stream works for anybody who is new. We've got 5 categories of games that you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. For each of the first 4 categories, we've picked out a game that fits into that category. It's 4 games that are interesting for 4 different reasons, not necessarily our favorite bets of the day, just 4 of the more interesting games on the slate. 4 games that today especially allowed me to ask Kyle some questions related to handicapping on things related to the category ideas. So for each of these games, I have a lean in that game, my favorite bet. Kyle has his lean in the game as well. And you guys, as the chat, will be able to vote on a poll to figure out your favorite bets in these games. My bet, Kyle's bet, and the chat poll result are all going to be tracked over on a bet stamp account. We've got close to 500 leans from the stream tracked over on the account, dating all the way back to May 4th. You can see each and every one of those tagged by category, tagged by who said it, tagged by whether it won or lost over on the Capwise Stream bet stamp account. And despite fading ourselves so many times, eating all the juice, picking all these random games, the stream has been quite profitable, which is I think remarkable. I'm honestly a little bit surprised that with close to 500 picks on a bunch of random games, including just polling the chat as a third of the picks, that the stream has been up, I think about 8 units over the course of the season.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's actually really, really cool. So the final category of the day is the walk-off. This is our actual favorite bets of the day. I have mine picked out. I don't think Kyle's going to like it. Kyle has his picked out. Going to be very interested to see what that is. And chat, you guys will be able to vote on your favorite bets of the day as well. Take 5 of them, put them in a poll, see what you like. So with that out of the way, let's hop into it with category number 1.
David versus Goliath.
Average Joe's versus the Globo Gym Goliath. This sport doesn't build character, it reveals it.
F&A, Cotton, F&A.
So category number 1 is David versus Goliath, where we're taking a look at a team that is a heavy money line favorite. And the team that we're looking at today, everybody's favorite team, or least favorite team, the New York Yankees. So the Yankees are on the road, sitting at about minus 200 on the money line, and Pittsburgh taking on the Pirates. Pirates more like plus 160, plus 165, plus 170-ish, depending on your book. Total in this game, sitting at 9. So Kyle, what are your thoughts on the Yankees and Pirates today?
Well, first of all, I will say you did pick some tough games here today, and this I'll note to the chat on the ones that I don't feel as strongly about as compared to some of the others. This first one is one that it was a little bit difficult for me to find something I like here, to be honest.
I agree. This one sucked.
This one is kind of painful. I think Jamison Tyone versus his old team is kind of a nice narrative about this game, certainly. Tyone's been tremendous. He has had a little bit of shaky starts here of late. Even the last start against Oakland, he really wasn't very good. He gave up 3 runs in the first inning, settled in a little bit. But the thing that I really like about Tyone is he doesn't give free passes. He has great control, averages about 1 walk per 9 innings, which is really, really very impressive. Nothing you hate more than seeing pitchers that, walk guys constantly. It seems like those guys nearly always score, especially a leadoff walk or something like that. Tyone is very good at throwing in the strike zone consistently. Now, Quintana, for his career for the Pirates, has not been a guy that's given up a lot of home runs, and that's something that I think is kind of interesting about this handicap because the Yankees rank first in baseball in ISO against lefties, and this is 85 degrees, and the wind's blowing out about 8 miles per hour for this game. For those of you who don't know me very well, too, I am a weather nerd. So, it was one of those things when I was in college, I really considered majoring in meteorology. So, I still get pretty pumped up when there's storms or snow or stuff like that. But it also does help handicapping a lot. And this is kind of a side note. Baseball, it helps a lot to know the weather. I know we're going to talk about one here today, and also college football. You get some of these totals that you have 20 miles per hour wind and a total of 65. It's awfully hard to score that many points when the wind's whipping around, especially if it's raining or snowing. But in this one, you got the Yankees' power against Quintana, who has allowed just 0.95 home runs per 9 innings in his career, which is really good. That's excellent. Does a nice job keeping the ball in the ballpark. I have a hard time knowing a strong angle on this game. So as I was looking at this one, I think that the way I would play this one if I were forced to play it is I would probably take a Yankees team total over. I think Quintana will probably have a little bit of trouble with the Yankees here. And to be honest with you, I think this is my least favorite bet of any of them that we're going to talk about. So this is not something I'm going to put any money on myself, but I can't take a money line favorite of this price. I mean, if you know me very well, I'm not taking this price on the Yankees. But am I excited to bet the Pirates? Certainly not in this case. I think the Yankees are a far superior team. Just a tremendous record so far this year for the Yankees. Aaron Judge has been amazing, having a breakout season even after he was already a very good player. But Yankees team total over is my slight lean on this one. I wanted to find a player prop on this one, Nick, but I didn't know what to take here in this one, because Tyone is not necessarily a big strikeout guy. I looked at the strikeout props.
Yeah.
I don't love those a lot. I don't want to take anything with Quintana. Maybe over on hits for how many hits he'll give up would be something I would at least consider. But I'm kind of hoping you have something a little stronger than I do in this one, Nick.
No, so I think my thought process here was very similar to yours. So this is Jameson Taillon's first start back, like you were saying, against his old team. He was the second overall pick, actually, by the Pirates back in 2010, selected right behind Bryce Harper and right ahead of Manny Machado, which is very interesting. He was shipped over to the Yankees last offseason in exchange for a package that included Ronci Contreras, who's having a phenomenal season so far in the Pirates rotation. It would have been really interesting, actually, to see a Taillon versus Contreras matchup on the mound. The present versus the future. But yeah, I'm kind of with you here. So if the Yankees had a lefty on the mound, it would have been a very nice spot for a potential strikeout over prop. The Pirates are K'ing at an alarmingly high rate against left-handed pitching. I'm not the biggest player prop guy in the MLB, but I did take, who was it? It was somebody on the Nats. It might have been Patrick Corbin, over 4.5 strikeouts against the Pirates when they played about a week ago, and he finished with 12. So lefties against the Pirates, love to look for their case, but with the righties, it's a lot more iffy, especially because the Pirates these days, with Sawinski up in the lineup, with O'Neill Cruz up, can really stack their lineup with left-handed bats. So I'm with you that I think that the Yankees are a little bit of a good matchup against Quintana. Probably not going to see Joey Gallo starting in this game, benching him against another lefty. Anthony Rizzo probably is going to start here, but he'll likely be the only player batting left-handed against the lefty Quintana. So I like the Yankees to score right about 5 runs, which is where their team total is sitting at. But I also do think that the Pirates, with all of these lefties in the lineup, can get to Taillon a little bit. Not necessarily for a whole lot, but with this game total sitting at 9 in most spots, and actually with an 8.5 available, this is what set me over the edge. So BetMGM, according to BetStamp, is hanging an over 8.5 at -120. Give me the win at 9 instead of a push at 9 at -110. I'm going to take that over 8.5 in this game. I like the Yankees team total overlook. That was definitely on my short list, but I'm just going to also trust or count on the Pirates to put a couple up as well.
I like that. I think it's important to note too. A lot of these games finish 7 or 9. So if you can get a better number off of 7 or off of 9, that's going to be a really important number. You know, you could get a 4-4 game turns into extra innings, then somebody's going to score a fifth run at least. And especially nowadays with the extra innings rules, you can really pile up the runs in extra innings if it does happen. Now, I don't think that's the reason you're betting this one because you probably don't expect this one to go to extra innings. But 9 is a really important number. Tyone has not been tremendous here of late. And even with -1.5 on the Yankees, this is quite a bit of juice. So I'm going to pass on the side. I don't know. What is this one on -1.5 right now, Nick?
So best price available is over on Bet Rivers at -112, and I think -115 is available pretty much everywhere.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of laying juice on a run line. I do it occasionally, never more than about -110 or 115. I see some of these guys that love taking those -1.5s on the Dodgers at -150 or something like that. Gosh, it's just, I mean, we've seen so many of these teams win by one. I can't do that consistently.
Yeah, I feel a lot more comfortable with taking it with a road team, and of course the fact that the Yankees are on the road, it's priced in appropriately. I mean, we're going to look at the Astros later on, who are 50 cents more expensive on the money line at home with the same run line price. So it is factored in correctly, but I think just from a psychological perspective, you can avoid a lot of bad beats on run lines betting on away teams, because in extra innings or in like the ninth inning, you're never going to have your team stranded scoring exactly one run and then the game just ends.
Sure. Yeah, and there is some kind of psychological. If you win by a team wins by one and you have 1.5, it always stings a little bit more. So I know that's one of the reasons I don't love taking run lines, is there is a psychological factor to sports betting in general. You know, you lose too many of those by half a run, it's going to start messing with you a little bit. You don't want the bad mojo to mess up your next handicap, certainly.
Yeah, it's like I had a streak in college basketball this past season where I lost over in the span of a week. I think I lost 5 different under bets to like buzzer beaters or like fouls with zeros on the clock, and the extra meaningless free throw sent the game over, and I didn't bet another under for like a month after that. Just like, I can't deal with this anymore.
College hoops bad beats are the worst. I mean,
Yeah,
honestly,
they are. It's my favorite sport to bet on. Just like
yeah, absolutely. Great sport, great value, but especially if you have an under at the end of the game and these guys are fouling down 12 or 15 with a minute left, it's just painful. I mean, you got to turn the TV off and hope you win. It's just not good for your health to watch the end of a game like that.
Yeah. So we have poll results from the chat. And chat, I think not so surprisingly, likes the Yankees in this game. So we had 6 votes come in on the Yankees run line, 2 votes on the Pirates run line, 2 votes on the over, 1 vote on the under. So I got the Yankees team total over 5 locked in for Kyle, over 8.5 locked in for myself, and the Yankees -1.5 for the chat. Also, speaking of the chat, we had Javon say, if you want a prop in this game, Giancarlo Stanton, total bases. Did you look at the hitter prop market much in this game?
You know, I'll be honest. I don't do much with the hitter prop market, and baseball is one of the sports that I do the least props in. So I wouldn't call myself an expert in props, so I don't want to give too many opinions on props with these. I do know props more when it comes to football, especially the NFL. But hitter props are tricky. You know, I mean, all it takes is one at bat. I see a lot of guys trying to do the who's going to hit a home run in a specific game. Those are difficult, you know.
Yeah, and those are always priced poorly.
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of vig on that. I think that in general, the props that I usually do involve the pitcher instead of the batters.
All right, Javon. I guess we'll hear about it later on. Why you like Stanton? I'm assuming on Behind the Lines later on, you'll be talking about it. But interested to see that pitch. So let's hop along in now to category number 2.
Field Streakers.
Fire up in here, it's burning hot, we on fire. As cold as ice.
So category number 2 is Field Streakers, where we're taking a look at a team that is on a long winning streak or a long losing streak. And the team that we're looking at today is the Houston Astros, who are finally healthy, finally heating up. They are, I believe, on a 7-game winning streak at home today, hosting Zach Greinke and the Kansas City Royals, former Astro, Zach Greinke. So the Astros are sitting at minus 250 on the money line at home, minus 115 on the minus 1.5 run line. I think that minus 250 is the most expensive money line of the day. Total in this one, sitting at 8 runs. So Kyle, what are your thoughts on this game? And chat, the poll is up. Be sure to go vote. Let us know what you like.
So we start out with Tyone against his old team, and then we go to Greinke against his old team. When you sent me these games last night, and I was kind of looking at my notes, I thought Nick really likes these matchups of playing against their former team.
It's just a
I don't think every game we're going to talk about is going to be that, but the first two are. So Greinke, he really started the season pitching poorly. He was getting very fortunate. If you look at FIP versus ERA, he was really giving up a lot of hard contact that was still finding gloves somewhere. He's pitched well in his last 2 starts. What do we make of that after he's came back from the injured list? I will say Houston has been the best offense in baseball in the last 30 days, and it's not been particularly close. If you look at WRC+, they're pretty far above everybody else in the advanced metrics. This is a tough matchup for Greinke. I really think that he'll struggle to get through this matchup. No Perez hurts the Royals quite a bit. Even if his numbers weren't great this year, he's a key to their team, certainly. I wanted to say, too, something that I think not enough people pay attention to when they handicap baseball is defensive runs saved. The Astros are a tremendous defense. Across the board, a lot of guys in the field that are saving runs consistently. They're pretty far above everybody else in baseball. Royals are about the middle of the pack, but the Astros are so good defensively that they're going to win several games just because of their defense and fielding. So I wanted to mention that. Garcia's been really solid of late. The Royals offense has been subpar most of the season. Ryan Blaney is the umpire here in this one, and while there aren't a lot of ones that really stand out as umpires that would make a big difference in a game, Blaney is a pretty good under umpire. I don't want to take the under here because I don't trust Greinke. I did want to mention it, though, that I think handicapping umpires is very important. It's something that I've done a lot of over the years, so I'm probably too much if you see all the spreadsheets I have of umpire data. And you know what? I don't want to go on a tangent too much here, Nick, but I see the robot umpire stuff coming, and it pisses me off because it's just an edge that I have that I would lose that edge. So I won't hijack the stream here today, but I'm not looking forward to robot umpires. I understand
I'm
why.
more than happy to have that discussion.
I understand why people want robot umps because there's so many bad calls. I'm just saying that, as a bettor, I want every edge I can get. And I feel like that's one of the edges and one of the best edges I can get. I know Doug Eddings is a great under umpire. The batters are going to get, pissed off at him every single game. He's going to call something way off the plate. We know, Mark Wagner's a big over umpire, just to throw out a couple of things like that. And those go away and you lose an edge. And I don't want to lose any edges. I've done this for so many years, and I know that the market is more efficient in general than it used to be. You especially see that in the college markets, that the public, the odds makers, and everybody knows a little bit more than they used to. We see with like Ken Palm and college basketball and everything, all the stats that are already out there, the odds makers can just follow those numbers and set a really good number, even on obscure games usually. So I don't want to lose one of those edges. So I don't know how you feel about this, Nick.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to it.
I understand where you're coming from, but I cannot wait for the robo umps. I mean, as a bettor, maybe the umpires provide an opportunity for an edge. As just a fan of the sport, and just as the person that I am in general, it just pisses me off seeing mistakes. I don't like it. I'm ready for the robo umps. And also just from a psychological perspective, there's nothing worse in baseball than the umpires making wrong decisions, just objectively wrong decisions, ruining your bets.
I understand where you're coming from, and if it were just Angel Hernandez, I'd be good with robo umps. but for the rest of the guys out there, I'd like them to stay around. Now Hernandez is maddeningly inconsistent and seems to just favor certain teams at times. So I don't want the umps to go away because I think that's just an edge that I really like. But I'll continue with my handicap here. Sorry to hijack the stream.
Oh no,
briefly,
I love hijack it as much as you want. These are all good discussions.
All right, yeah, it's good to have some discussion and not just talk about the game as well. General
that's what makes it
handicapping
more fun.
thought. So I said Blakeney is a under umpire, and he is. Greinke's not a strikeout guy, though. I don't think he's going to get a lot of strikeouts on Houston here. And I'm actually going to take a player prop as my favorite play in this one. I do like this one better than the first one that we talked about. I'm going to take Greinke hits allowed over 5.5 in this game. I think Houston is going to get several hits in this game. Now, the only thing that could hurt this is if Greinke doesn't stay around very long and he walks several guys and they get people on base that way. I think in general, though, that it's going to be hard for Greinke to put together 1, 2, 3 innings against this lineup. Houston has a good deep lineup. It's not, one or two guys. It's not the Angels where they have two amazing hitters and nobody else. It's not a lineup where just the first 2 or 3 guys are good batters. Houston has lineup depth. I think Greinke doesn't have the strikeout stuff that he used to have. More of a pitch to contact guy now. So I think Houston will get quite a few hits here. I'm going to take over 5.5. This at FanDuel at -124. So I'm going to take Greinke over 5.5. It's allowed.
Yeah, I like it. So I think something that's interesting about Greinke, and something that I like to think about just handicapping against this Houston team, just in general, is just like you're saying, that they don't strike out a lot. So I'm curious actually what your thoughts on this are. If you have a pitch to contact guy like Greinke, who's not really trying to strike guys out anyways, up against a team like Houston with one of the lower K rates in the league, especially against right-handed pitching, do you think that that's an advantage for Greinke, the fact that he can kind of go and execute his game plan anyways, or do you think it's an advantage for the Astros, just being able to play into their strength? And as a counter, on the other side of that, if you have a guy like Greinke going into a very strikeout heavy team, do you think that that's an advantage for the pitcher, or do you think that's an advantage for the batters?
That's a complicated one. I think it would depend on the circumstance. It's a lot of the answers to handicapping would be it depends.
Yeah.
But in this case, Houston does have a really good batted ball exit velocity. They hit a lot of balls hard. They're not. This is not Coors Field, and they're dropping one in the gap. They do hit balls hard. I think when it comes to Greinke specifically in general, I think it would probably be the first that you said when it comes to teams that have a high strikeout against Greinke. It really kind of works counterintuitively because Greinke doesn't get a lot of strikeouts, so probably those teams that are usually a high K rate would be better against him. But having said that, in this one, it kind of goes against my general argument that I made there. But I do think Houston will hit the ball hard enough here to find open spots. Obviously, this is baseball, and we know that, Nick, you've seen this. There's sometimes that you're just, 105 miles per hour exit velocity nonstop, and they're catching all of them.
Yeah.
There's so much variance in one game in baseball that, don't at me if Greinke gives up one hit or something like that. But I think in general that this matchup is difficult for him, partially because I really just think Greinke is probably overrated at this point. He's been a great pitcher in his career, but I think his advanced metrics suggest that he is getting close to washed at this point.
Yeah, I think Greinke is washed. But so my least favorite type of pitcher to try and handicap is a guy like Greinke, just the pitch to contact guys, because there's so much variance just around where the balls in play go. I think that guys who limit balls in play, whether that's because they walk a ton of guys or because they strike out a ton of guys or because they give up a lot of home runs, all of which just completely take the defense out of the equation, those guys are a little bit easier to handicap just because there's less randomness. So a guy like Greinke, I think my least favorite pitcher in all of baseball right now is Paul Blackburn. Who's another guy in the same vein. So where I'm going to go here is I don't really want to handicap what Zach Greinke's going to do. I'm with you. I think he's going to give up a lot of hard hit balls. It's just a matter of where do those balls go. I'm going to take a Royals team total here. I'm going to go with the under. So you can get this at under 3 at minus 105 over on Caesars. I'm happy to just take a push and be done with this. This is not a bet that I'm going to have any money on. This is a pretty gross game. But so I think Luis Garcia, like you said, has been pitching well this year. He's not the best pitcher in the world, but he's not a guy who's going to go out and really get destroyed very often. He faced Kansas City once earlier this year, went 7 innings, gave up only 4 hits, gave up 2 runs, and the Stros kind of sneakily have one of the best bullpens in all of baseball. So I'm going to take a Royals team total under 3. Just going to live with it if I push, but I think I'm more likely to be under than over.
Good.
And we have poll results from the chat. So we have a tie. We have an Astros minus 1.5 with 6 votes. We have an over 8 at 6 votes. And then 1 vote a pop on the Royals and the under. So in the case of a tie like this between the run line or a money line and a total, we take the implied team total. So if the over hits and the Astros run line hits, it is a mathematical guarantee that the Astros team total will go over. So chat betting against Greinke here as well. Astros team total over 4.5 at minus 130 is the price we're going to lock that in at. And yeah, JFK in the chat. Greinke's washed, but has looked so good his last 2 starts. Yeah, so coming off the injured list, I guess this is another question. Good discussion point. How do you approach, I guess in general, pitchers returning from injury? Is it a spot where you try and take advantage of it in some way, or is it a spot that you try and stay away from?
Usually pass on their games in the first one off an injured list. That's even more variance. I'm trying to get rid of variance here. I do want to say, though, Greinke has looked good in 2 starts back, but look who he pitched against. So not exactly the Houston Astros lineup. Oakland is terrible, probably the worst lineup in baseball. And then Texas, not a very good lineup either. And in those games, still only 4 strikeouts and 3 strikeouts in 6 innings. So he wasn't fooling people all that much, even against really bad offenses. Just a massive step up in class here to Houston. So I'm going to discount that and kind of pay to see him do it against a good offense.
Yep. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and hop now into category number 3.
All I do is win.
And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they stay there. 'Cause all I do is
Wind.
So category number 3 is All I Do Is Wind, where we take a look at a game with potentially heavy wind implications. And the game that we're looking at today is the game in Boston between the Tampa Bay Rays, the visiting team, and the Boston Red Sox, who are sitting at about minus 130 on the money line at home in Fenway. So in Boston, looking at somewhere between 10 and 13 mile an hour wind blowing out. It was, I think, sitting at 13 last night, looking at 11 right now. Not sure exactly where it's going to end up at game time. Of course, weather is a little hard to predict in and of itself. But Kyle, what are your thoughts on this game? And I guess first, what are your thoughts, more generally speaking, on handicapping on weather or incorporating that into your handicap?
I think it's crucial, especially if your total's better. Obviously it doesn't matter as much to a side. But when it comes to totals, the other thing you have to keep in mind is it depends on the ballpark as far as how much it affects the game. Everybody knows Wrigley is tremendous, when the wind's blowing out or the wind's blowing in. But at this point, that one is so popular that it's almost overused. Because, as you know, Nick, when everybody starts talking about it and everybody says this is automatic, then the angle, the trend, the system doesn't work as well.
Yeah, we've seen totals of like 10 in Wrigley this year with the wind blowing out.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there can be some extremes there, but I think this is a perfect example because I think I have some pretty good notes on this one. Fenway, really, really good when it comes to both wind blowing in and out as far as taking the under or taking the over. So, chat, I wanted to bring this one up. I think this is a helpful angle. With a temperature of 60 degrees or higher and the wind blowing out 8 or more, the over is 56%. That's 162 and 128 at Fenway since 2006. So, we're going back 16 years now. Um, it doesn't happen really often here because a lot of times there's also wind kind of blowing to the side. This time the wind's blowing out and a little bit toward left field, I believe, at about 11 miles per hour. This is one also where the rain could be an issue. So we'll pay attention and we'll see if there's a rain delay or something like that in this game because the rain looks like it's about 50 or 60% for this game. But wind blowing out at Fenway has been a tremendous angle, and I believe the wind blowing in, taking the under, has hit at even higher rate than that. So definitely pay close attention to the wind at Boston. You'll note that a lot of these parks that are older parks are more affected by the weather than a lot of the newer ones. So I hate to see some of the older parks go away too. I sound like the old guy, yelling at the clouds type thing. But I just like the extra edges, as I said. But other one I wanted to say, Nick Pavetta, just tremendous differences in his stats if you look back day and night games. And I want to get your opinion on this after I say the stats. I like to look at, home road splits, day and night splits, first half, second half splits for pitchers. I do think they matter. I think, it could be overstated, but in this case, Nick Pavetta in day starts throughout his career in 230 innings, 3.59 ERA, and a 1.205 whip. It's pretty impressive. In night games, 425 innings, 5.59 ERA, so 2 full runs higher, and a 1.437 whip. Now, this is a big enough sample size that I think we at least need to pay attention. I don't know what's going on with Pavetta, but he pitches far better in day games than he does at night. Not even close. I think some guys you can easily say, well, the lineups sometimes on day games, on getaway days, are not quite as good. You find those Thursday lineups where a top hitter or two is sitting out. But Pavetta, this is 2 full runs difference. The whip being 1.205 and 1.437 tells me that's not just a fluke that he's giving up more runs here. Before I go on, Nick, I'm wondering what your thoughts are on splits, like on day-night splits on somebody like this.
Yeah, so day-night splits are tough, like you said, because there are potentially other factors that are influencing them, and also I think the ballparks matter as well. Different parks, you get just different sight lines, different issues with shadows. I'm curious actually if you have this readily available, what do Pavetta's day-night splits look like in Fenway? If that's something you can, I can actually probably pull that up over on the Fangraph split leaderboards. It'll take me a minute.
I don't have that one readily available to me, but I do know his splits at Fenway in general. I just don't know the day night. I will say he was rocked at Fenway last year, 5.4 ERA and a 1.446 whip, and then this year 2.79 ERA and a 1.095 whip in general. Now, I don't know how many of those have been day starts and how many of those have been night starts, but in general, I don't think that Fenway would be a very good park for him. Pavetta does give up some really hard contact. This is a guy that is pretty inconsistent, and the stats would suggest that as well. To be honest, I do think day-night splits matter. I think first half and second half splits matter even more. Some of these guys are fast starters or fast finishers, I guess you would say. Some of the guys struggle at the beginning of the year, kind of get it going at the end of the season. I think day-night splits matter a little bit less than that. And home road splits certainly matter because, you have some guys like, say, Reds pitchers. And I appreciate Nick not bringing up the Reds here too much today because the Reds are my team. I'm a Reds, Bengals, Buckeyes guy, but there's nothing to cheer for the Reds. I just hope Joey Votto has a better season than what he's having right now. But I mean, there's some guys on the Reds team that have much worse ERAs at home, and advanced stats far worse. But I mean, Great American Ballpark, it's pretty easy to see why that would be the case. Like a Tyler Mahle, for example. You probably want to take team total overs with the other team when he's pitching at home. In this case, I think that this is an interesting handicap, and I like this one the best of the ones that we've talked about so far because, I love the weather, like I said. And in this one, Tampa Bay is the harder side for me to handicap. What do I think of Tampa Bay's offense? They're really not a very good offense in general. 24th in WOBA against right-handed pitching, fourth highest strikeout percentage in the league against righties. Pavetta can rack up some strikeouts from time to time. Do I trust Tampa Bay to score a lot here? I mean, I think they have a decent chance because of the weather and what Pavetta does in night games. On the other side, we have Springs starting for Tampa Bay, a lefty, and Boston is 12th in WOBA against right-handed pitching, but 5th against left-handed pitching. And Springs is coming back from the bereavement list. I believe it was a family medical issue that he has missed some time with here. I don't like to handicap that by itself, but I don't think that can be a good thing. There's no way that that's helpful. And in this case, I think it's more than likely that Boston's going to have several base runners on here. We've got the wind blowing out. Springs is in a fairly difficult spot. Out at Wrigley, I said I like the overs with that, with the angles. I'm going to take the Boston team total over on this one. I think Boston scores several runs here. Tampa Bay does have a good bullpen, certainly, as far as depth. I think that there will be some home runs here. We've seen that Fenway is affected by the wind quite a bit. And, if there is some weather here as well, if we see a rain delay or something like that, you can see some big innings after that. You see some guys pitching middle relief that aren't usually in the game so long. They try to extend them. So I'm going to take Boston team total over for this one as my favorite play.
Yeah, I like that play quite a bit. And so what I think is interesting actually is looking at the Rays bullpen. My impression just thinking about the Rays pen is that they've been good, and it is a little bit hard to look at Rays stats just in relief because they do like to utilize openers so much. But over the last month, they actually have the third worst xFIP out of the bullpen in all of baseball. Only the Royals and the Reds have been worse. Again, it's not necessarily they're not necessarily going to be that bad with an actual starter on the mound. I'm not exactly sure how much of that is proper relief pitchers versus primary pitchers who are technically coming in relief. But that is it's a spot where the Rays have a little bit of a sneaky edge, or the Red Sox, I should say, have a little bit of a sneaky edge here. Red Sox bullpen in and of itself has not been great either. There was the pretty high profile loss that they suffered in Toronto because Tanner Houck was unavailable. I know that was a very, very popular bet. A lot of people on the Red Sox money line in that game. Bad taste in their mouth. But I think I'm just going to take the Red Sox to win this game at home. I'm going to take the money line. I'm with you. I think that they're going to have some success against Springs in this game. It's just a matter of trusting Pavetta against a relatively weak Rays lineup, which I do, and taking hopefully a little bit of an extra edge in the later stages when both starters are out of the game. So I'm going to take the Red Sox money line. But I do like the Red Sox team total over as well.
I think that's a pretty good price on the Red Sox money line.
Yes, we're looking at like a minus 118, minus 125. Just going to call it minus 120 up on the graphic. So I'm seeing over on BetStamp, we can lock in a minus 125 for the over 4.5 on Caesars and a minus 118 on Pinnacle as an offshore option. Let's see, Red Sox money line for me at minus 130. And I think you can actually get a better price. Yeah, minus 123 over on WinBet. Best price on the board right now for the Sox. And chat is on the same play as me. So we got 8 votes on the Red Sox, 2 votes on the Rays, 1 vote on the under, no votes on the over. So basically everybody here is on the Sox to take this one. Also, question towards you. Where do you get your data from, especially for trend data?
I see the pick was asking that also. Shout out to the pick for saying best guess yet for Buckeyes and Reds. As far as trend data, I'm pulling that from Bet Labs, so that's just queries run on Bet Labs, and I've spent far too much time, late nights setting up these random queries. Some of them are helpful, some of them aren't. I do think this is one that's pretty important with the weather at specific parks. I'll give you a bonus one here real quick too. Comerica in Detroit is really good when the wind's blowing out or blowing in. You want to pay attention to the weather there. I think the wind blowing out at Comerica, the over is over 60% in the last 10 years. So definitely pay attention to that one as well. But Labs is where I'm pulling my data from for these trends.
Yeah, so I have a question for you along the lines of that trend, just trends in general. So I personally am extremely skeptical of trends, even trends that are certainly statistically significant over massive sample sizes like that. Like looking at weather in a park over a decade-long period. I mean, that's a ton of data. And as a data guy, like you have to look at that and say like there's something there. But at the same time, how much, if at all, do you think that the books are also aware of a trend like that? So maybe the overs hit in Comerica 60% of the time with weather doing XYZ. So we're going to bump the line up by half a run.
I mean, they're certainly aware of it. Whether they're enough aware of it, when you see some of these graphs, they continue to go up. I'll give the example of college football games with the wind blowing pretty heavily and taking unders. It depends on what number you get as well. I think that's important. If you want to get the closing line on something like this, it's going to be worse than if you get the opening line. So you want to pay attention early. I think Ben's the same way. I don't know about you, Nick. I don't like to bet right before the game because, I feel like my edge is smaller, especially on a sport like college basketball or college football. I want to bet early. Yeah. And then I'm very good at getting CLV, which that's a whole nother topic. But I think in general, trends can get a bad name because so many people say things like, on a Monday night, this team is, 10-1 in the last 11. It's like that makes no difference, obviously. But if you say in the NBA, in game sevens, the under is this, I think that matters a lot. The game slows down. The books have had a hard time adjusting enough to things like that. So I would be skeptical of trends that look like they've kind of leveled off over the last few years. You can see the graphs of how they've done year by year, but the ones that are consistently winning every single year, I feel like they haven't caught up yet. And, I kind of separate them out. I think some trends are certainly very helpful. Like I said, you get later in a series, in a basketball, NBA playoffs, the under's done really well. Weather in baseball and college football, it's mattered a lot. I think, maybe 1/3 of trends or 1/4 of trends are helpful. And we usually hear quite a bit from the 3/4 or 2/3 that aren't helpful. And I think that's why they can get such a bad name. But I'm not quite as anti-trends as you are, Nick.
Yeah. And I think so. My thing with trends is like there has to be some kind of explanatory relationship, like a cause and effect type relationship. So looking at stuff like weather, and does that impact totals, and how does it impact totals over time in different ballparks? I mean, like that's a trend that makes sense, right? There's definitely a cause and effect relationship there. I'm more likely to put some stock into that. But when people start odds sharking the last 6 Mondays that were the first Monday of the month, and the wind's blowing between 4 and 6 miles an hour, and you're just like mining for something that you can say this is 8-0 over the last 20 years or something.
Course, yeah,
like, that's kind of silly.
That's a good point, Nick, because if you're just looking for something to support what you already wanted to take anyways, then they're not very helpful.
Exactly.
Because you're just trying to explain why that's a good bet. In reality, you want that to be something that shapes your thought process. I did want to say too as well. Coastal says that Ben loves CLV maybe more than his family. I love that one. CLV is really helpful, and that's a deeper discussion. But I will say, getting a bunch of closing line value and then losing is really frustrating. And I'm sure you know this as well. I mean, you take a college basketball under 145 and it closes 137. You get 8 points of closing line value and it finishes 170. And you go, wow, I mean, I would have rather not gotten that closing line value, because then you assume that it's a good bet. But having said that, odds makers will tell you that people that get closing line consistently are the ones that they want to limit. So I think that tells you quite a bit too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so to answer also the question, what is CLV, that somebody asked in the chat, it's like there's a mathematical way that you can define it as well, but it's basically like what Kyle said. If you take a bet like an under 145 and a half, say in a college basketball game, and then over time the line moves and it closes at an under of maybe minus 140 and a half, then you have those 5 extra points of wiggle room where, because you got your bet in earlier, you would win, whereas otherwise it might have lost just because you bet it later. So you want to be getting in at the best number possible, and that's kind of what CLV is trying to get at. So also on that note of betting earlier versus betting later, I mean, very much on the bet early train in most sports, although I actually think that baseball is the one sport where I like to wait. And the reason for that is just because of the way that I do my modeling. It's lineup dependent. So I personally, just for me, because of that being the way that I do it, I think that I can mitigate the CLV lost by gaining extra information, waiting for the exact lineup constructions to come out from both teams.
Makes sense. I do think baseball's the one where it would be a toss-up as to whether it has more value to bet early or late. But it would be hard to come up with a reason why you'd want to bet an NFL game right before kickoff, something like that. So
aside from
baseball,
like
though,
injury issues, where we're waiting on information in that
Sure.
regard. But yeah. All right. Good discussions here. I love this. So let's hop in to game number 4.
Pitching duel.
Now, key to being a big league pitcher is the 3 R's. Readiness, recuperation, and conditioning.
So category number 4 is the pitching duel, where we're going to take a look at a game with a low total and an excellent pitching matchup. And the game that we're looking at today, we've got Noah Syndergaard and the LA Angels on the road as plus 120-ish dogs in Miami, sitting at minus 140 on the money line with Sandy Alcantara, one of the best pitchers in all of baseball this season. Total in this one sitting at 7. Really funny comment. Ben secretly married CLV. He has no human wife. But Kyle, what are your also that I love the Twitch chat. People make so many funny comments. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, first, I mean, you said it to start with. Alcantara has been a tremendous pitcher, and he is a better pitcher than Syndergaard at this point. Syndergaard still has the bigger name, but for my money, I'd want Alcantara on my team versus of those two. Syndergaard has done well versus the Marlins lineup in limited at bats, and I guess I wonder how much stock you put into that as well. So that's something. A quick question on that. I mean, some people think that past performance against these specific hitters means nothing. Some people think that that's the main basis for a handicap. I think the answer, the truth lies somewhere within in the middle. But I think Syndergaard against the Marlins has a 227 weighted on base average allowed and 61 at bats. Now, 61 at bats isn't something I would want to hang my hat on too much, because that's not that big of a sample size. And Nick, being a data guy, knows the bigger the sample size gets, the more those numbers mean. Certainly, if this was 250 at bats, then I'd be thinking about it a lot more. And the other thing about this game that stands out is Alcantara has a low BABIP allowed, batting average on balls in play, of 243. But if you look at his advanced metrics, I looked at this quite a bit this morning, tremendous across the board. he gives up a lot of softer contact. Average exit velocity numbers are tremendous game after game. So while I don't think he'll be able to keep up the 243 BABIP allowed, it's going to be lower than the average in Major League Baseball for sure. And if you look at the Angels certainly have stars in Ohtani and Trout. And you can argue some of their other guys are decent hitters as well. But the Angels have a really weak bottom of the lineup. I mean, they're just not very good. The 6, 7, 8, 9 spot are very weak. Obviously, Anthony Rendon being out hurts them quite a bit. If you look at the Marlins, Jazz Chisholm is out. Soler has been out. I assume he'll still be out in this game. This is a Marlins lineup that really wasn't very good even with those guys. Without them, not very good at all. I don't like taking under 7 juiced. I see under 7, what about minus 115 or so, maybe the best, maybe a minus 110 somewhere.
Yeah, you can get
I haven't bet
minus
this.
109 on Circa.
Minus 109, there you go. That's a good thing about shopping around for the best odds, certainly, because I even see a couple minus 125. I mean, that's a massive difference.
Yeah.
And in general, I will say, if you're taking totals with a minus 125 or minus 130 juice, then I don't like that. You lay that kind of juice with a total, not in favor of something like that. But minus 109, I'm taking the under on this one, Nick. I think this is going to be one of those ugly, lower scoring, close games all the way. Syndergaard has been a little bit less consistent. I don't trust him a lot, but Miami's offense is pretty weak. They've been better against righties than lefties. But still not a very good lineup. And I think Alcantara is just legitimately a very, very good pitcher. So I'm going to take the under in this one. And this is one that I didn't end up releasing as a premium play, but this was close. So I do like this under. I think this could be one of those 2-1 or 3-2 type games here.
Yeah, I'm conflicted here. So my brain tells me that the under is a good spot here. My model has this game higher than 7. So I'm a little scared from that perspective. I really hate fading the model, so I'm just going to avoid totals here. And I'm just again going to take the home favorite with the better pitcher on the mound. I'm going to take the Marlins. Do I really want to pay minus 140 for this? Not really. Let's see, what is the best price in this one? So best price in the Marlins, minus 128 over on WinBet. And you can get actually looking like minus 135s pretty much everywhere. So I'm okay with that. I think I'm going to take the Marlins here. Just give me, like you said, what should be a low-scoring game. They have, I think, a slight edge in the bullpen as well, which is nice. Although Alcantara should go 7-8 innings, like it seems like he's doing every start now. So I don't think that's going to be a huge difference maker for them. But Syndergaard, more hit and miss. Give me the miss potential against a very consistent Alcantara.
Yeah, I'm a bit conflicted on that one because in general I want to bet Alcantara, but I hate laying juice with the lineup as weak as them. So
yeah, this is an ugly game. It's like a good game from a watching good pitching perspective.
Right.
Ugly game from a betting perspective.
Marlins bullpen has been kind of sneaky good here of late. Not a bad bullpen. And like you said, Alcantara probably going to work pretty deep into this. I think some pitching props with Alcantara might be a good look here too. Maybe even a total outs recorded and over or something like that, because I do think he'll be in this game for a good while.
Yeah, definitely. I think the outs, and then also I don't know if you can bet this on the books, but people who are into prize picks, you can bet like a pitches thrown. Which I mean, it feels like such a degenerate bet, but I'm sure that there's actually something there. Because you're kind of, in a way, you're like hedging against walks, hedging against striking guys out, hedging against how deep you go. Do people have like a 10-pitch at bat that ends with a walk or something? So interesting. I have absolutely no idea how to really handicap those, but another interesting option. And yeah, so Angels bullpen is towards the bottom of the league. They, over the last month, are more middle of the pack So Marlins in xFIP 9th over the last month, Angels 16th. Although in that range, you're only looking at like a 0.2 of a run difference. So yeah, it's going to be Marlins for me. Not a bet that I love, not something I'm going to have any money on. And chat, once again, agrees with me. So we've got the Marlins with 10 votes, the under with 3 votes, the Angels with 2 votes, and the over with 2 votes. So it'll be a Marlins money line. Chat and I on Sunday, we had the same bet in 4 of the 5 categories, which is kind of crazy. We went 3-1 on those though, so that was nice.
Can't argue with 3-1, that's for sure.
Nope, not at all. And yeah, they keep raising Sandy's out. What is his total outs at?
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
It's got to be like 20.5 or something.
It's got to be
for him, which is nuts. I mean, that's 6 2/3. But chat, if anybody knows what it is, let us know. I'm very curious. So also, speaking of letting us know things, it is time for category number 5, the walk-off. So what I need from you guys, chat, before we start up a poll, is your favorite bets of the day. Take a second to type them out in the chat. It can be any type of bet on today's baseball slate. It can be a money line. It can be a run line. It can be a game total, team total, first 5, first inning, Nerfy, Yerfy. It can be a player prop. Let me know what the bet is, and let me know what the price is. Is it a -110? Is it a +200? Is it a -3,000? Yankees +5.5 parlay piece. If you don't give me the price, it's not going in the poll. Here is the little video clip.
The walk-off.
The 1-1 pitch. A swing and a drive to deep right. Away back. Gone.
And let's see what we've got. So I see we have the Nerfy in the Angels and Marlins game. It's been forever since a Nerfy actually went into the poll. I'm happy that trend has died down a little bit. Those are very degenerate, mispriced bets.
Yeah.
Although if you were to pick out 2 pitchers, I mean, Alcantara is definitely one of them. I don't know about Syndergaard, but at minus 146, that feels expensive.
Gosh, I don't want to get on a soapbox on that, but the Nerfies, 1 inning, so much variance. All it takes is 1 bad pitch. I'm not a big fan of playing those.
Yeah, I'm not a big Nerfy guy either. We've got the Cardinals money line at +120. We got Aaron Judge, total bases over 1.5 at -130. Speaking of player props in the Yankees game, we got Brewers. First 5 money line. Who are the Brewers playing? Are they playing the Cardinals today? No, they're not. Okay.
Cubs.
Yeah. Just wanted to make sure I didn't have 2 conflicting bets in the pool. That's at -122. And one more. We'll take Jay Wells, Padres first 5 money line at -140. Sorry, Victor. Yankees +4.5 -2,200 on Bet365. Not gonna make it. If you were a little bit earlier, I would have put it in the poll. But yeah, no, we'll have to make jokes about -3,000 plays. People just bumping up their win-loss record,
right,
without any consideration of are you actually profiting or not. So poll is up. Be sure to go vote. And Kyle, what is your favorite bet today?
All right, so here's my favorite bet of the day today. I'm curious to see Nick's thought and also the chat if you have any opinion on this. I like the Blue Jays team total over quite a bit today. I got -125 on over 4.5. Nick, you can see what might be the best price out there now. The Jays are off a game where their bats were quiet against a subpar pitcher. I don't think they're going to do it again. And also, you look at Adrian Martinez, not the college football quarterback, Adrian Martinez pitching for Oakland. He's never had success even in AAA. So what's going to make me think that he's going to have success in the majors? Look at his AAA numbers. Adrian Martinez, 5.63 ERA, 5.63 FIP in 13 starts this year in AAA. Last year in AAA, 5.28 ERA and a 5.29 FIP. Has consistently struggled with giving up too many home runs, even at the lower levels. This isn't a guy I would expect to have long-term success in the majors. And look, Toronto didn't have a good game last night, but this is a top 5 offense in baseball. Very good offense. I know Oakland's a pitcher's park, but 4.5 is pretty low for a Toronto team going up against a subpar AAA starter, based on his numbers. We never know what's going to happen in one game, but I do like the Blue Jays team total over 4.5, a good amount here today.
Yeah, I think that's a good look. And not only is Martinez not a good pitcher, the A's bullpen is one of the worst in the league. And that's something that I think is important to look at when you're looking at team totals, because a lot of books now are starting to offer first 5 team totals, which have been one of my favorite bets to be taking over the last couple of weeks. You can really, really just isolate in on one pitcher against the lineup twice through. And you eliminate a lot of bullpen noise, a lot of the noise of how the other team's pitcher is going to do when you're looking at money lines and stuff. But with a bullpen as bad as the Athletics, I think it does make sense to go with the full game team total as opposed to a first 5 team total. And yeah, Martinez, he doesn't even appear on Athletics top prospect lists, like, at all. So he's not a guy, like you said, who's had success in the minors. He's not a guy that scouts are expecting to really have much, if any, success in the big leagues. So I think it's a good spot to take a 4.5 between him and the A's pen. And yes, and somebody in the chat had also it came up too late to go in the poll, but they had just the over in this game.
Yeah, that was a consideration as well. Easton, how can you trust anybody with an Ohio State apple? Oh man, that's funny.
Spoken like a true Michigan fan.
Yeah.
So my favorite bet today is I know we were talking earlier about pitchers coming off the injured list and how it's a kind of sketchy spot, but I'm going to be backing one today. I'm going to take the Mets run line today against the Reds, and we've got not one but 2 pitchers, both coming off the injured list in this game. So Max Scherzer is returning from an injury that's kept him out since May 18th, and Nick Lodolo coming back from an injury that's kept him out since April 24th. Lodolo, I don't know what to make of Lodolo, and I'm actually a little curious what your thoughts are on Lodolo. I mean, he's a pretty highly regarded prospect. He's not Hunter Green, but he's not a scrub. He's more of a pitchability lefty guy who's just like a lefty, consistent arm, not going to strike out a ton of guys, but not going to walk a ton of guys, not going to give up a ton of bad contact. But I think that with him coming off of 2 months out, worked up to like 4 innings in the minors, looked good in the minors. I don't really put a whole lot of consideration into minor league stats though, just because the level of competition is so different, and there's a lot of questions about how pitches play up, play down. I think we get 4 or 5 innings from him today, and then we see 4 or 5 innings from the horrendous Reds bullpen. And I think that's really where the difference is going to be. Lodolo could go out and have a decent game. Lodolo could have a good game. He could have a terrible game. But I think regardless of that, we're going to see a bunch of innings from the Reds pen, and we're going to see Max Scherzer do Max Scherzer things against a pretty bad offense. And again, questions about how many innings Scherzer's going to throw today. He didn't ever go 5 in his 2 minor league starts. He maxed out at 4.2. But I trust him over Lodolo, and I trust the Mets pen more than I trust the Reds pen. So give me the Mets today. I was also considering a Mets team total. Again, just banking on runs against the Reds pen. But yeah, pick 6. Nick brings a guy on just to fade his team. Exactly. Exactly.
No, it's funny, Nick, when you said at the beginning, I don't think Kyle's going to like my play, I almost joked with you and said, what are you doing, taking the Reds or something? I mean, no, I'm very realistic about how the Reds are. So I don't mind this play. I guess the only thing I don't love about this play is it's juicy for a run line. Minus 120 something. I think Lodolo is a pretty good pitcher. I think that he's kind of a crafty lefty, not overpowering. He won't walk a lot of guys. But I think it's pretty important what you said there, too, is that Lodolo probably is not going to pitch very deep into this game. The Reds' bullpen is really bad, very bad. So I think Lodolo is definitely better than the Reds' bullpen. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see 5 innings of the Reds' bullpen. And that would definitely help your bet here. So I don't mind this at all. In fact, I think the Mets have been so strong and so consistently good against both righties and lefties that I think they'll score quite a few here.
Yeah, so split stats against lefties over the last month. Mets have a 107 WRC plus, so about 7% better than league average. And yeah, I think the Reds have been quite bad against right-handed pitching. Yeah, 84 WRC plus over the last month against right-handed pitching. And this is not just right-handed pitching. This is Max Scherzer.
Right. Yeah. The Reds for a while, do you remember when the Reds were scoring quite a few and they kept going over their team total at home?
Yeah.
Reds have been struggling offensively quite a bit more of late. Votto's been struggling. It doesn't help that Farmer's been hurt. India hasn't been himself. He's been out quite a bit. Honestly, the Reds have all sorts of issues, offensive, defensive, pitching.
Yeah, they've been a weird team to follow from a betting perspective. It was like it was like fade the Reds, fade the Reds, fade the Reds, and suddenly something flipped,
Right.
and it was like tail the Reds, take the Reds to score, and now again it's just fade the Reds.
Yeah, definitely. I think fade the Reds here from here on out the rest of the season. While it's going to be expensive, I don't think that'll do badly. Honestly, I don't see what the Reds have to play for, and I just don't see them being very competitive.
Yeah, I agree. See what the future holds. There's some exciting young pieces that the Reds have. So, not like the future is bleak.
I can't say too much positive. I don't want to get too upbeat about the Reds.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Ohio State and the Bengals football season. I'll say that. That's what I'm looking forward
Yeah,
to.
Ohio State football future is always bright.
Yeah.
And the Bengals look pretty damn good too. I'm a Ravens fan, so hoping that the Bengals. I can't root against the Bengals. They're a good team.
And
likable
I like the
players on the
Ravens.
team.
I like the Ravens when they're not playing the Bengals too. So Lamar Jackson's easy to root for. Burrow's easy to root for. Two good teams. I think the AFC North's going to be really good. But baseball wise, it's been a lot of fun here chatting this, and I love watching the chat's comments here. A lot of pretty comical comments here, and it seems like people really have some impressions about Ben's love for CLV.
Well, yeah, I think it's just Casey the whole time. He's going on and on and on, just trolling today.
Right.
But yeah. So thank you, Kyle, for hopping on today. Really appreciate it. Oh, one last thing actually. Chat's favorite play of the day is Aaron Judge, total bases over 1.5 at -130. That got 7 votes. Cardinals money line at +120 got 5. The Brewers first 5 money line got 2. Padres first 5 money line got 2. And the Nerfy between the Angels and the Mariners got, and the Marlins picked up exactly 1 vote. Probably the person who requested it in the poll. I love it when plays get no votes. It's like somebody asks for it to be in the poll and then doesn't even vote on it.
And didn't vote for it. Yeah.
Happens more often than it should. But big thank you, Kyle, for hopping on. Really appreciate it. And one more time, what have you got going on? Where can the people find you?
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. Definitely, this was fun. And you can find me on Twitter at Kyle Hunter Picks, my website, huntersportspicks.com. You can find my premium plays over there also at huntersportspicks.com. You can sign up for my free picks newsletter where I'll put out quite a few free plays, especially during football season. Those are like 58, 59% over the last few years. So I do a lot of team totals, first half bets, things like that on that. So definitely be looking out for that. If you're not already signed up for the free picks newsletter, do so. And then one other project I want to mention real quick is sportswageringu.com. We have some classes up. where we've had different people teach classes on how to get an edge in certain markets. And the one that pertains most to what we're talking about here is myself and Nick Hub taught one on MLB totals. You can get that over at sportswageringu.com. There's also several free classes over there. We have one coming up that's a free class on UFC as well. So if you're interested in that, I know next to nothing about betting the UFC, but some of the people on our team know a lot. So check out the work over there at sportswageringu.com. And again, Nick, thanks for having me on. I've enjoyed this.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun, and I second the shout out to Sports Wagering U. I think it's just a very important mission, just in general. I mean, something that I know Ben and I are pretty passionate about, and you guys share in that passion, is just helping people make better, more educated sports betting decisions on their own. So big shout out to SWU, and big shout out to Kyle for hopping on. It's linked to his Twitter in the chat. Be sure to go follow him if you are not. Thank you, chat, for being here, for having a good discussion with us. Casey said, "What is that dog like today?" I think my dog just walked behind me. I don't think she has any bets today. Not yet, at least. I'll keep you updated if she does. So we will be back on the stream, same time, same place tomorrow. Be sure to tune into that. Yeah. Good luck with the bets today, everyone. And we will see you all next time. Take it easy.